Oh, I think it's crap. And I think it's completely ahistorical, and I think it's also not based on the philosophy of science, and it's not based on the real world. Um, what did Francis Bacon talk about? Philosopher of science. What did he talk about with, uh, he said that the purpose of science was to strap nature to a rack and extract her secrets from her. And Richard Dawkins, I mean, we have to talk about science as it is. The same with Christianity. We can talk all we want about how there might be and sure, some parts of Christianity are pretty good in terms of there have been, Christianity was very important to the civil rights movement, very important to the abolition movement. I got no problem with that. But taken as a whole, Christianity has been incredibly harmful. And it's taken as a whole, science has been really harmful. And Eisenstein can talk about whatever he wants, but I would say that Eisenstein is a little bit less popular than Richard Dawkins, for example. Wouldn't you say Richard Dawkins is probably more famous than Eisenstein? And Richard Dawkins says, there's a great line, science bases its claims to truth on its spectacular ability to make matter and energy jump through hoops on command and to predict what will happen and when. Science bases its claims to truth on its ability to make matter. Science bases its claims to truth on its spectacular ability to make matter and energy jump through hoops on command and to predict what will happen and when. And what he's doing, and this is true for science in general, is that the very epistemology is how we know. The very epistemology of this culture is based on domination, such that how we know something is true is by one's ability to make matter and energy jump through hoops on command. And now here's where it gets really interesting, because that's true in that I know if I hit this light, it's going to turn on because of science. Wow. And I know that, that I can talk to you because of science. This is all very true. Matter and energy is jumping through hoops on command. But there's another thing. Let's pretend we're in the same room. Let's pretend I put a gun on you. Let's pretend I say to you, okay, I got this gun on you, and I want you to jump through a hoop on command. And if you don't do it, I'm going to kill you. Well, you know what? You might jump through a hoop on command. And then what do you know? I'm a fucking genius. But something else happens, because if I put a gun on you and I tell you to jump through that hoop on command, you might not be my friend. You might not like me. And my point is that there are other forms of knowledge that are destroyed permanently by a form of knowledge that's based on domination. And so let's back up a second and let's ask a very important question. Is the world, the real physical world, I'm not talking about this culture, I'm not talking about our ability to talk to each other across the planet, is the real world a better place because of science? Are hammerhead sharks better off because of science? Is plankton better off because of science? Are traditional indigenous people, human beings, living in the Amazon, are they better off because of science? And I think the answer is pretty obviously no. And here's another part, is that science is based on the ability to predict. That's what mathematics is about. That's what equations are about. And it's based on objectification, because you can only, an object can be predicted in terms of numbers, in terms of equations, but a living being who can make decisions, a sentient being who makes decisions, can't be predicted in the same way. And so, I mean, I want to be clear, my first degree was in physics, God help me, and I don't have issues with counting, 1, 2, 3, 4, that's all fine. But one of the things counting does, is very interesting, is it presumes that the digits, the things to be counted, are identical. But the truth is that this finger and this finger are not identical, even these fingers. This one has a tiny, tiny little wart on the back. And this one, I've got some dirt under my fingernail. And this one, I got dirt under my fingernail in a different place. And they're different. It's like, okay, yeah, whatever, Derek. That's so much hair splitting. But let's pretend right now that somebody bursts in through the door at the back, and I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of you. Somebody bursts in through the back, and they spray the room with machine gun fire. And let's say they kill 3 of you. Okay, it all of a sudden makes a big difference whether it's this one, this one, this one, or this one, this one, and that one. It makes a big difference to you all of a sudden. And the important thing is, it's a lot easier to kill a number than it is an individual. And this is true whether we're talking about boxcars of intervention or millions of board feet of timber or tons of fish. So that perspective has fundamentally is fundamentally objectifying. And I'm not saying that science never produces anything useful. What I'm saying is that, here's another part, is if you ask 10,000 scientists if they believe that the world was created for human beings and that all of evolution existed so that humans are the apex of evolution. First off, that evolution has an apex, and second, that humans are the apex of it. If you asked 10,000 scientists that, the vast majority would probably say, absolutely not. There is no, evolution has no point that way. Humans are not the point of the planet. And it's an absurd question. A lot of them would laugh. But then when they got done laughing and they went back to work, what would they be doing? If you judge their answers by their actions, but instead of by their theory, what you'd find is essentially all of them are working to make the world conform to industrial, not even to human, but to industrial ends. And, you know, I don't know. I mean, science is pernicious in general. Science is really harmful. And science has been incredibly harmful to the natural world. It's been incredibly harmful to our, another problem with science. See, I don't think science is the problem, though. That all science has done, science is the latest monotheism, really. That, you know, Catholicism said that outside the church there is no salvation, and science really says outside science there is no knowledge. And another way to put all this is that monotheism has been the problem from the beginning, and that, or one of the problems. And Christianity, Judeo-Christianity, Islam too, you know, the Abrahamic monotheisms did the heavy lifting. And one of the things they did is they removed meaning from the world and they put it into a God way out there. And that's the really hard part, to take the divinity out of this tree and out of that tree and out of this dog and out of this flesh right here and to put it somewhere out there. And all science did was come along much later and turn off the light out there and remove meaning from the world entirely. And, you know, you don't have to take my word for this again. You know, once again, Richard Dawkins is very clear that the universe is meaningless. But he's also a liar because he says that the universe is meaningless, but he also says at one point that, that we are put here to rise above nature, which is an extraordinary statement because why would you rise up over something, and who put us here in the first place when he doesn't believe in any meaning whatsoever? But anyway, the point is that science is on the main incredibly harmful. Sure, science is able to record that global warming is happening, and sure, they're able to study species extinction, but why is that species extinction happening in the first place, and why is global warming happening in the first place? It's like E.O. Wilson, it just killed me. There was this big thing on National Public Radio over here a few years ago for his 80th birthday or his 85th birthday or whatever it was, and they asked him what he really wanted for his birthday, and he said, I would love to have a catalog of every living species, and because that would help us stop species extinction. And I was thinking, you idiot. You know, you want a catalog? Why don't you just, for your birthday, since you're not going to get that anyway, what you want for your birthday, why don't you ask for a stop to species extinction itself? It doesn't help to study it unless you stop it. So science can be a tool, just like Christianity can be a tool, just like the law can be a tool. Catherine McKinnon says that law is how power organizes. I would say that science is the sort of manual version of that. Law is how science, law is how, in this culture, law is how power organizes politically. And I would say that science is how it organizes in a physical sense, but it's still based on power. And there are other forms of knowledge that are not based on power, but on relationship. Gosh, what an idea. A non-mathematical relationship, by the way.